Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Zen from BuildSpace. First of all, I would like to thank you all for attending for today's presentation. For today's webinar topics, we'll be discussing on how to manage on our subcontractors project, from tendering to the post-contract administrations within the construction development projects from a contractor's perspective. Before we go further, please allow me to briefly introduce some background of the BuildSpace and what BuildSpace is all about. And if you have any question during the presentation, please write in the under the chat box, and our system consultant will revert to you accordingly. People might ask, what is BuildSpace? BuildSpace was found in the year 2011, when the team started to design and establish a cloud-based solution for the project management. This BQ-based online procurement system is tailored for the construction industry, especially for the main contractor to manage on the tender pricing, the subcon e-tendering, and the tender evaluation, all the way to the post-contract management. And the most importantly, the document sharing and the communication between our clients and subcon, our subcontractors, and other project team members will be well recorded into a single platform. Although nowadays we use the computer to convert our documents into the soft copy, mostly in the Excel format, but the physical effort on preparing the hard copy reports is still mainly required in our daily work basis. And tedious paperwork will always cause our work not so efficient, which will cause us a lot of the lead time and the waiting time to be done. Waiting time for something to be done eventually will cause the delay of the project progress and difficult for us to monitor on the project budget cost performance. And the flow of the communication between our clients and our subcontractors is always broken. Although we use the email or the Google Drive to share the documents and WhatsApp for our communication, but when it comes to the record tracking and the security, it is still insufficient. Moving forward, let us take a look on what if we digitalize our business workflow into a system. We are talking about the Internet of Things and the machine-to-machine communication, which allow not only us, ourselves, even our client, our subcontractors, and other project stakeholders to have the most flexible work condition regarding to the time and the location, to access into a single platform to manage on the project online, which makes our business workflow to be more resilient. And since the data is one of the valuable assets that we need to manage properly, therefore, manage our project in the system will keep the project data well maintained, and most importantly, the data analytics can be produced, can be tabulated for decision making. And having a collaboration system connects all our project stakeholders in a sustainable network. Document sharing and the communication will be well recorded and for easy tracking from time to time. In BuildSpace, we have two major modules. We call it the e-tender module and the post-contract modules. Under the e-tender module, we can manage our main tender online, starting from the main tender pricing, which is including with the markup and the tender analysis. And further, we can proceed with the subcon e-tender workflow, starting from the subcon BQ preparation, the tender calling, the tender evaluation, all the way until award recommendation of our subcon. And once the contract has been awarded, we can seamlessly extend the project data into the post-contract modules, what you can see on the screen at the right-hand side, where we can start to manage on our project payment, the change management like the BOs, the operation order, the project scheduling, and the cost planning. So for today's system presentation, we will discover on starting from the sub-tender management. As soon as we receive the main tender BQ from our client, how can we use the system, the BuildSpace, to generate the subcon BQ and further call out the subcon tender through online instantly. Further, we can invite the subcontractors to come into the system to submit their BQ, even their claim to tender. And the tender comparison report can be auto-tabulated from the system whenever the tender is opened by the clients. And when the project has been awarded, which is in the post-contract stage, we can reuse our contract BQ to manage on the progress claim, the BOs, and monitor our BQ budget cost in details. Lastly, we will also discover on how to utilize the system to generate the S-curve from the project scheduling to Gantt chart. If we manage our project starting from the tendering until the post-contract stage, all our project data will be accumulated and presented in the dashboard format. And this will be very, very easy for the management to monitor on the cost performance on our project. So now, let us take a look on what is the system demo, starting from the main tender BQ. I believe most of the people might thinking that having a software we need to install the software into the certain PC with the license means that we only can access the system through the PC with the license. But for BuildSpace, there's no need. BuildSpace actually is the cloud-based solution, which means we can always access through different devices from anywhere to anytime, as long as we have the internet. So from what we can see here, actually is the login page of the BuildSpace. So take for example now, if we log in as the main contractor, once we log into the system, the first thing we can see actually is the to-do list. We so-called the to-do list. This will list down all the pending tasks that pending for our approval, or even certain reports that pending for our review. So we can see that from here we have certain reports they call the recommendation of tender form, the list of tender form, or even the award recommendation report. Or in the post-contract side, we have the BOs can be sent through the system approval as well. And further, at the bottom part, we can see actually it's a chart. It will display the total numbers of the project which is created in the system with their status. As you can see, how many projects are still in the design stage, how many projects are still in the calling stage, the post-contract, and certain we call the closed tender and the completed. So if we want to view further on the details, we can go to the projects. Under the project listing, we are able to see all the projects created with their status. Then we have the post-contract stage, closed tender, design, and so on. Take for example now, if we receive the main tender BQ from our client, if we want to further import into the system to do on our tender analysis or the pricing part, the first thing we can do, we can go to the add project here to create a new project in system. Then we can further fill in with the project information. The subsidiary is was to identify or to sort out the certain projects or different township. Let's say from this project, this township, and let's say the project title, site address, the state, and the project description. And once we created the project in the system, we can actually start to invite our other departments to join into the system to manage on their contract as well. As you can see here, we might have the contract team, so-called the contract team. You can change the title here. Then we can further assign them to come in to open for the same project, and even the project team, so-called project department, and then further assign them to come in. So once we assign, save. So if we want to import the main tender BQ into the system, what we can do, we can go to the top right corner here, we so-called the BuildSpace Pro. BuildSpace Pro basically is a sub-module where we keep all our BQs, our costing, so on. So from here, let's say we have one main tender BQ that issued by our clients. If we want to import, first we can start to initiate to create a new view and further import with a new title, view title. So let's say if I open a sample Excel file, let's say we have received our BQ from the client in the Excel format. So if we want to further import this set of the Excel BQ into the system, we only have to do a minor adjustment. If, for example, if we back to the system, let's say if I want to import into this view, you can go to the import from files from the Excel. further upload the Excel file. Starting from here, we only have to do the minor adjustment like the mapping from the Excel file. Take for example, starting from a description, if we refer back to the Excel file, description will be fall under column C. And the column D will be the unit, column E will be the quantity. So if we back to the system, description will be column C to column C. Unit is column D, quantity, column E. So if we hit import, then the system will analyze for us how many elements will be imported together. We can select all to import together with the quantity and hit import. So now the main tender BQ has been imported. If we want to view on the details like a BQ item description, we can double click. Once we double click, the second level will be the element level. Starting from here, if we want to further view on the item, let's say under frame, we can double click and we can see all the item description here, imported with the units and the quantity. As the main contractor, sometimes, let's say as soon as we have received the main tender BQ from a client, we can instantly generate the subcon BQ and further call out for the subcon e-tender through the system. To do that, we can go to the sub package to further create a BQ for our subcon, for our subcontractors. Take for example, I can type with the project title for our subcon. Say project BBB concrete works. So if we want to further extract the BQ description from our main BQ that I imported just now, we can further go to the extract from field to open, let's say for work below. Let's say we can select for what are the items to be imported into our subcontractors BQ. And we can further click import and we can select from the other elements, let's say for frame with the concrete, for example, and hit import. And let's say upper floors, let's say concrete, import, and so on. Take for example, once we imported for all the concrete works item, the BQ item into our subcon BQ. So we can further go to assign the subtypes and units for the BQ. Let's say if we want to, so now the subcon BQ has been generated, has been created. This one is the subcon BQ. If we double click, so we can see within this subcon BQ, we have only one build called the build number 1. We can further double click to see there are 3 elements, so called the work below, frame, and upper floors. So if we want to view on the BQ items for the concrete works, we can double click again to see on the BQ description with the item description, with the quantity as well. At this point, if we want to further call out the tender, the proper e-tender flow to our subcon to do the pricings on the submissions. So what we can do, we can go to the sub packages. We can further go to export the file. To create a subcon project in the system, we can back to here. Under every project, under every main project, we do have the module called the sub packages. Under these sub packages, we can start to upload on the project with the BQ. For example, for this just now the BQ that we exported out, we can further save. So now the subcontractors BQ has been generated in the system. So if we repeat again from here, let's say if we back to the project listing. So from what we can see, under the project listing, we are able to see our main tender BQ, which is created under the project listing. And if we want to further view on the sub project, our subcon BQ projects, we can further hit on the green buttons here, called the sub packages. We can click to go in. Under this project BBB, we do have the concrete works as the sub packages. As you can see, every sub packages will be treated as an individual tender to be called out individually. So starting from now, the project status will be shown in the design stage. So if we click in, so for every project that we created in the system, as what we can see here, the checklist, if we open up the checklist, For every new project that we create in the system, we need to complete all these 6 steps in order to call out tenders for our subcon to do the pricing. So as you can see for the first one, the BQ prepared. Once we generated out the BQ, if we want to further review or finalize on our subcon BQ, we can go back to the BuildSpace. Under the BuildSpace Pro, okay, we can further go to import the BQ from the Excel or even the generated subcon BQ. Take for example, now if I import just now the subcon BQ. Okay, for example, if I open a sample BQ file, so if we want to finalize on our subcon BQ, we can further hit at the publish to tender button to ready to call for tenders. So of course, once we click the buttons, all the BQ items will be locked and any further amendments will be treated under the addendum for our subcon. So if we back to the e-project, once we finalize on our subcon BQ, let's say if I refresh on the dashboard of the checklist, so we are able to see that for the first step has been completed. The BQ has been finalized and prepared in the system. So as a management level, let's say for the contract manager or any management level person, if we're using a system, we are able to monitor on progress for the projects. It's either the BQ has been finalized yet or the tender documentation has been finalized yet in the system. So moving forward, if we want to further view on the tender documentation, as a QS or as a contractors, if we want to further upload on the tender documentation, we can hit this button, the view. And it's a shortcut for us to go into the tender documentation module. From here, we can see all the folders that created. So take for example, now if we want to further upload some drawings, some attachment for this subcon tender. So what we can do, let's say under these drawings, we can hit option, open. So we can further upload add files. So we can upload in the PDF format or any kind of the file types. Let's say, for example, drawings, PDF. And one of the good things, if we use the system to manage on our tender, in terms of the subcon tenders and all the drawings that we uploaded in the system, we actually keep all the log who actually uploaded for the drawings and by whom. So for any time, from time to time, we can monitor and keep track for all these audit trails, so on. So another part of the tender documentation is if we want to further prepare on the form of tender through the system. Under the same module, the tender documentation, we have the one folder called the form tender. So another good thing if we use the system to manage on our tender is some of the reports like the form of tender, we can actually come up with a template for us to use instead of start off with the beginning. Let's say, for example, if we want to preview on the form of tender templates, we can further print first on the form of tender templates. So we are able to see all the clause and so on. So if we want to further amend the clause from the form of tender, we can go back to the system. Under the clause, there is one edit button. For the edit button, if we hit inside, from here we can start to amend on the clauses, or if we want to add a new clause in between, we can further hit add, and we can drag the clause to be a subclause if we want. We can further type in for the content, or if we want to remove the certain clause from the form of tender, we can hit the delete button to remove and further save again. So this is the way on how we prepare on our tender documentation, including with the BQ and also the form of tender into a single platform. And before we call the tenders, normally we will start to list down all the tender, all the subcontractors, potential subcontractors list for our management approval. To do this, we can go to the recommendation of tender list, hit the tender. Starting from here, we call the recommendation of tender form. We can start to propose the date for the calling date, for the calling tender. Let's say the tender will be called out by today. Let's say 2 p.m. for example. And the closing date will be the next week, 2 p.m. And we can fill in with the completion period, let's say 12 months, our budget for how much, and the site possession, the date, and further hit save. And at the bottom part, once we save with all this tender information, at the bottom part we come out, we call the contractor list. Starting from here, we can start to draft out all the potential subcontractor for this tender submission. Okay, for example, if I want to filter some contractor from the contractor list, this tender would like to call out for these contractors, contractor 1, 2, and 3. Further save. So by the time we listed down for all our potential subcontractor lists, then by default the status here will show in the pending. This pending actually means that in the system we can send out we so-called the expression of interest through the email to seek for their interest, whether they want to participate in tender or not. So if we want to send out the expression interest to them before we proceed to another step, what we can do, we can hit this button, we call the expression interest, then we can further key in with the contents for the message. Let's say we want to draft up, please state your interest on this tender participation. And we can further preview on our email content and further select the recipient to send out. By the time when we click this button to send out, the system will send out the email notification to the subcontractors. So if we switch to the contractor side, who receive the email on about the expression interest. So for the contractors, once we send out the email expression interest, then they should be able to receive the email for this expression interest. So for contractor, they can click in, and for the subcon, they are able to see this is from which project, and when is the tender calling date, and the time, closing date, and the time, just tender date. So for your subcon, if you want to further respond from this email to reply whether they want to participate or not, what they can do, they can click at the link here. From here, they can further select yes or no to participate in the tender. If, for example, for this subcon, they reply with yes. Once they reply, if we switch back to our side, the client side or the main contractor side, and if you go to refresh on this page, whatever response from the subcontractors will be automatically updated here. Status, either it's changed to yes or no. And of course, for some contractors, they might verbally inform they want to participate. So at this point, we can still go to change to yes manually. So let's say we are finalized on this form, we can further proceed to hit submit. To proceed with another form, we so-called the list of tenderer. And under list of tenderer form, the information will be similar with the previous from the previous form. At this point, we can further go to finalize all the information, or if we want to further add on for new subcontractor list, we can further add on from here and further send out expression interest. And if we want to proceed to further call out for tenders, we can hit the submit button to proceed to the last form before call out. It's so-called the calling tender form. So under calling tender form, we only have to finalize on the calling date and the tender closing date. And at the bottom part, we can send out the tender invitation through the email to our subcontractors. So if you want to send out, we can hit this button to further draft our message for the tender invitation. And we can preview on our email content and further hit send button to send out. And let's say all the tender documentation has been ready. Now we are able to call for tenders for our subcontractors. What we can do, we only have to hit this button, submit again for our management approval. So let's say the calling tender form has been submitted and approved by our management. So you can see the status here, it will change to calling tender, which means now the tender has been called out and an email will automatically send to all the contractors from here about the tender is called out. At this point, the subcontractors, they can actually come into the system to do the pricing and submit for them. Let's say now if we switch to the contractor side, sorry, for the subcontractor side. For your subcontractor, whenever the tender has been called out, they will receive the email called the e-tender message notification. So when they click in, they can see your company has been invited for the following tender exercise, and what's the project title, and when is the tender calling date and the closing date. So the method for your subcontractors to do the submission actually is quite straightforward. They only have four steps on the submission. What they need to do, the first step will be go into the system. Let's say, for example, when they access to the system, the login page, for your subcontractors will have their own ID and the password to log in. So this will be the step number one for them to log in into the system. And for step number two, for your subcontractors, if they want to view on the projects, they can go to the projects here. And you can see under the project listing, they are able to see the projects which is still calling tender. So this will be the step number two when they click in to view on the project details. So for step number three, if your subcontractors, they want to download all the tender documentation, they can go to the document, tender documents. Under tender documents, they're able to see all the folders that are created by us. So for your subcontractors, they can further hit the drawings folder. Let's say they want to download some drawings. They can go inside of this folder. They can either download one by one based on the attachment, or if they want to download all in one shot, they can go to the action to download the folder. So this is how for the subcon to download all the tender documentation, all the drawings and the attachment. But for BQ, for your subcon, they don't need to download. If your subcon want to do the pricing for the BQ, what they need to do, you just go to the top right corner, there's one button we call the BQ editor. Under this BQ editor is our BQ system, where for the subcon, they can actually view all the BQ that prepared by us. So if they want to do the pricing, fill in the rates on their pricing, the BQ, they can double click to view for the view. Let's say for this view, then the second level will be displayed on all the element lists. Let's say starting from the frame, if they want to view on the details on the BQ description, they can double click to see all the BQ items. So for our subcon, they only allow to key in for the rates based on each item. And another good thing for your subcons to do their pricing online is they only have to key in for the rates, and the total will be auto calculated by the system, which means this will reduce the possibility for the arithmetic errors that caused by the contractors as well. Let's say for your subcons already done all their pricing in this method. From here, they are able to see on their overall amount for how much, and if they want to print out for the BQ as their reference or as their record, they can go to the print final BQ, print with price. So the BQ can be printed out in this format for them as a reference, but they no need to submit the BQ in the hard copy because the BQ can be submitted through online. So if your subcon want to submit the BQ online, what they need to do is just to hit this button, we so-called submit tender. Once they click this button, you can see that the tender has been successfully submitted. So for your subcon, if they want to view on the details on their submission, they can go back to the e-project. So to go back to the e-project, you can go to this button here. Under submit tender, from here we are able to see the total amount, the tender amount by the subcontractors. So for your subcontractors, they are able to print out the form of tender, further signage to sign up and submit, upload the attachment into the system as well. So this is the method on how the subcontractors do the submission online in the BuildSpace. So let's say the tender has been closed. For the main contractor side or the client side, we can actually go through the approval process for the tender opening process. So to do that, if we back to the client side, within the same project, as a client or as a main contractor, we can always amend our closing date. Let's say we want to set the tender to close. Set before, Take for example, and hit the extend button again. Assuming now the tender has been closed in the closed tender stage. So as a main contractor of the client, even that we manage our e-tender in the system, once the tender is closed, we cannot directly see all the submission details for the subcontractors. Even if we click in, we are able to see, we're only able to see the subcontractors, their submitted date, but without any details of the submission in terms of pricing comparison and so on. So if we back to the level, so from here we are able to see whenever the tender has been closed, the status here by default will show not yet open. So if we want to further open for our commercial, for the subcon, what we need to do is to assign the verifier to go for the opening process. We so-called the e-approval through the system. So under this form, we can start to assign the verifier, which means the opening community, to open for this commercial tender and further submit. So by the time we hit submit, the system will actually send an email notification to all the tender opening community. So for the verifier, it's either when they receive the email, they reply from the email, or they log into the system. Then there's the to-do list it will display. Within this project, we have the open tenders that's still pending for our approval. So if we want to further respond on approval, we can hit view and click confirm to open the tender. Let's say the commercial tender has been opened by the community. You can see here the status will change to open. And this will be another good thing if we use the system to manage on our tender opening or certain reports that in the system we actually keep all the verifier log. So this BuildSpace actually can be considered as another tool for our audit trail for all the approval tasks or the report as well. So from here we are able to see the open tender verifier has been submitted by when and approved by who by when. So let's say from the commercial opening, once the tender is open, if we click inside, so from here we are able to know the submission tender amount from each of the subcontractors. So let's say if we want to, let's say allow me to open a sample project with the same status, which is already the tender is open. For example, let's say we have the project over this. Let's say under these sub packages, we have one concrete works, which is already in a closed tender stage. We get inside and repeat for just now, whenever the commercial tender has been opened. So from here, we are able to see the numbers of the submitted tenders and when is the closing date and so on. If we click inside, then from here, we are able to know the submission tender amount for each of the subcontractors. And of course, all this kind of the comparison will be auto-tabulated out from the system whenever the tender is open. And we can further hit the button print to print out our tender opening form. It will print out in this format. And all the submission, the sequence will be followed, the lowest to the highest. And this is just the tender amount comparison. If we want to further compare more based on the BQ rates comparison, so what we can do, we can go back to the BuildSpace Pro, which is the BQ system. Under the BuildSpace Pro, from here we are able to know for this project, our bills, how many bills will be listed down here. And the tender amount in the blue color actually is our budget. And we have the submission rates for each of the contractors, the subcontractors will be displayed side by side. So if we want to compare it up to the BQ level, the item level, we can double click up to the item levels. Then if you scroll to the right, at the right hand side, we are able to see the 3 columns displaying the different contractors, the subcontractors, and their submission rates for each item, each BQ items. And another good thing, if we use the system to manage our contracts, regardless of the main tender and the subcontract or the subcon tender. In the system, we have the one column, the one feature we call the historical rates. In this historical rates, we are able to analyze, let's say within the same description BQ, same BQ description, how much that we actually awarded from our past project. So from here, the system will analyze for you with all the project with the same description and the awarded amount for how much. And we can further go to select and take this one as our benchmark comparison. for our awarded contractors, subcontractors. And of course, this kind of comparison we can either export from the system into the Excel format or print out in the PDF format. So if we want to further go to export the comparison report into Excel format, take for example. So what we can do, we can go to reports, the tendering reports here. So under this, the BQ, the new tenderers, we can further go to select which subcontractors rates we want to print out for the comparison. And let's say print out to compare with this view, let's say for all the elements level. And we can further print, it's either print out in the PDF format or export in the Excel format. So let's say the tender comparison report has been exported out in the Excel format. It will display in this format. So we can see here, the system will auto analyze for you in the different colors, indicate that the green color actually is the lowest when compared with among the other contractors, other subcontractors, and the red color actually is the highest. So at this point, it's easier for our contract executive to do the comparison based on the BQ level. And let's say if we want to further go to award our subcontractors in the system, another good thing is we can proceed to prepare our letter of award through the system as well. So to do that, if we back to the e-project system, under e-project system, allow me to open a sample project. Let's say this one. And not only for commercial opening, if we want to further prepare on the letter of award online, we can go into the system. And another good thing is whenever we create a project in the system, we can predefine what are the templates, which LA template we want to use for this project. So if we want to further review on our LA, which is already done in the system, it will print out in this format. And actually, all the LA contents we can draft and submit for our approval for our management through the system as well. Then once we draft out and approved by the management for our letter of award, we can actually print out for our contractor's signature. So this part will be the e-tender for our subcons. And let's say now the contract has been awarded to the subcontractors. If we want to manage on our post-contract in terms of the claims and the BOs, remeasurement, or even the escrow, the project schedulings, allow me to open another project, which is already in the post-contract stage. Take for example, for this project, which is in the post-contract stage. Whenever the project in the post-contract stage, so within the project, once we open, the first thing we can see, it will still list out with so-called the to-do list. Means that within this project, what are the reports that are pending for our approval? So-called, let's say the BOs that are pending for our approval, or any claims that are pending for our approval, we will list out in this table. And the bottom side here, we are able to see that there are two charts. The first chart at the left-hand side, it will display how much will be our contract amount and how much will be our awarded, the approved BO amount. And another side for the chart, it will display how much will be our contract amount compared with the up-to-date claim for how much. And bottom, there's a chart, so-called the ASCII, it will display our cost, project schedule cost information from time to time. And of course, all this kind of information will be automatically updated when right after our user go to update on the BQ claims. Let's say if we want to update the BQ claim in the system. So what we can do, we can go to the BuildSpace Pro. Whenever the BQ, whenever the tender has been awarded, we can actually extend our BQ in the post-contract form, in the post-contract stage for us to update on our BQ claim. So as you can see here on the BQ system, at the top part, we are able to see our BQs. Let's say we have 5 BOs and we have the BOs, advance payment, material assigned, and so on, which can be updated in the system as well. So let's say starting from the BQ claim. If we want to update on the BQ's progress claim, we can open for one of the view. Let's say for one of the unit, let's say for this unit. Let's say starting from the element level, if we want to update our progress claim, let's say completed 80%. Or we can double click up to the item levels to update one by one based on the item level. Let's say this one completed 100%. This one completed even by the quantity or even by the amount. So this is how we update on the BQ we're done in the systems. And another good thing is we can always manage on our BOs as well in the system. Under the variation order here, if we double click, we are able to see the list of the BOs which is already initiated in the system. Let's say starting from the BO1 until the BO17. And each of the BOs, we are able to see their status is either already approved by the management or even still under preparing or pending for the management approval. Take for example, if I open for one of the VOs, let's say for this VO, if we double click, then we are able to know all the breakdowns for the variation order. For the item breakdown, we are able to come up with the net omission, the new quantity under the addition, and further it will generate under the net omission addition. And all this info, all the costs here will actually bring forward to the summary. From where it allows us to, easier for us to do the comparison based on budget and even for our net omission addition. As I mentioned just now, of course, we can submit the VOs for the approval from time to time. And another good thing to use the system to manage on the VO is each of the VOs here, we can actually upload the attachment for our document records. Let's say if we want to upload some our AI or any other attachment, we can actually go inside to upload accordingly. And as the main contractor, if we want to do the remeasurement for our contract as well. To do remeasurement, we can go to the system. Let's say under our main contract or our BQ, we can actually go into the item level, let's say for frame. Starting from here, we can start to remeasure the come up new quantity. Let's say after this, 60. A new quantity, and the system will auto calculate for you on the net omission and addition after you come out with the remeasurement. And assuming, let's say, we manage our main contract and our sub package into a single platform, one of the core objectives is to get all the budget cost information into a single platform. In this case, the system is able to analyze for you, drill down to the details. Take for example, under these budget reports, whenever our subcon updated their claims or awarded subcons, we are able to know, starting from our main contracts, we are able to know which up to the bill level, how much will be our revenue, means how much we awarded, and our budget for how much, and our subcon budget for how much, subcon cost for how much, and most importantly, when for upcoming the post-contract stage, whenever your subcon updated their claims, we are able to monitor from here as well. We can double click up to the item level. So each of the BQ item level, we are able to monitor this item will be awarded to which subcon, and how much will be the quantity, and how much will be the rates in such a details. And of course, this kind of the comparison reports we can actually export in the Excel format from the system. So let us recap from just now what we show on the demo presentation, the system presentation. If we manage our main contract, starting from the pricing and also the subcontractors BQ preparation, all the way to e-tendering and the evaluation until the post-contract levels. So we are able to consolidate, gather all the project cost information and template up in the dashboard format. In this case, that's why in the e-project, we have one of the main features that we call the dashboard. So under this dashboard, starting from the overview levels, from the overview levels, we are able to know how much will be the awarded. So from the macro level, we are able to know our cost performance for our projects. Let's say how much will be the budget overall, and how much will be the awarded contract sum to the BO over such a manner. And we can further drill down in based on the work categories, based on, let's say for building works, will be how much will be our budget, awarded according sum, and our savings as well. This is here. Oh, sorry. So before we move further, please help me to answer the poll that we have prepared for you to discover on which project management process that you wish to digitalize the most due to the current work condition. We will leave the poll for a minute to let everyone to fill in, then we can proceed with the system demonstration. All right, thank you for your answer. When it comes to the IT philosophy for the BuildSpace, we are aimed to serve that for the BuildSpace actually is to empower starting from our colleagues at the executive level to focus on the individual responsibility and the quality of the output. And at the same time, we support from the top management to focus on the business objectives and the performance. We hope that through the provision of the total solution and the strategy partnership with our clients and having the powerful system allow the cloud-based business activities and a safe data repository for valuable information data. And we will increase the efficiency through the process of the automation and ultimately achieving with the digital transformation. And speaking about the BuildSpace support, BuildSpace actually has a team that help our client to achieve on the digital transformation through all these activities, as you can see on the screen. Starting from the setting up, which will start to set up with the server and the system and provide the training and the facilitate the learnings and for the adoption, and the technical support for the implementation will be adopted from time to time, continuous communication for the improvement, and ultimately will achieve the long-term goal through the close collaboration. And we would like to share with you on some of the existing clients who successfully adopted the BuildSpace to manage on their business operation. As we understand, the clients now are having the have a different needs in terms of the works process and the project capacities. So this time around, we will be working on the customized proposal that suit for your needs and with the tailor-made or the implementation program so you can adopt the system without any hiccups. So before we move forward to the end of the session, please help us to fill in any another poll that to let us know if you are interested to know more about the BuildSpace pricing. All right, thank you for your answer. Let's proceed. And before we end the session, for our friends here who are interested to know more about the BuildSpace and how the BuildSpace can help to manage on our tender calls, please scan the QR code on the screen here to register for our next webinar session, and which will be conducted on Tuesday, tomorrow, 4 p.m. Or if you would like to discover more of the upcoming BuildSpace webinar event, please log on to the event page through the link at below. And here comes to the Q&A session. If you have any question you want to ask, please fill in the chat box now and we will address your question accordingly. So any question? So I think that's all for the presentation. So once again, thank you for joining for our webinar today, and hopefully we'll still see you on the tomorrow session as well. Thank you for everyone. Stay safe.